Dale, do you want to say something?
I would love to say something, James. Nothing would give me more pleasure.
Fantastic. Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm joined today by Dale.
Hi.
And Nikki.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the usual sorts of stuff and nonsense that we always do. You might get a bit of extra background noise because it's quite a lovely day here in sunny England, so we're actually sat outside of our normal place of work, and it kind of makes a change rather than being in one of the rooms that we normally do to record the show in. But what we'll also do is just cover off the usual sort of stuff, so what's the news, what we've been watching, questions, that type of stuff, and then just make you aware that we've got a couple of other shows that should be going live on iTunes in the next few days, as well as there is the monthly subscriber prize draw that is currently being open for people, to new and existing subscribers. What's going on in the news? So Dale, Nikki, what have you seen in the news? What sort of things do you think are interesting in the world of the United of the Kingdoms?
Well, I don't know. I keep wanting not to have to talk about politics when we get to the news, and then.
But you've so got to talk about politics this week, Dale. You've just so got to talk about it.
Happens. So between this week and last week, we've managed to move from a situation where there was going to be a new Prime Minister in September to one where there's a new Prime Minister today. Subsequently, she sacked pretty much all of the cabinet and rehired half of them, and then hired a bunch of other people as well, including some people who I consider to be mad, including people like Dr. Fox, not the one off of the Top 40 Hits parade, but an extremely right-wing mentalist. So yeah, that's sort of what's happening in the news. In more light-hearted news, I've just seen a story about a security robot in a shopping centre in Silicon Valley running over a child. The child was bruised but largely unharmed, and the security robot has been taken off duty. I presume there's going to be a bit of an HR case against that droid.
How big was the robot?
It's pretty sizable by the look of this. So it's about 5'5" tall.
So when it says it ran the child over, what does that actually mean? Did it just keep going?
It went over its foot and leg after the kid fell over. So it wasn't sent.
So it was the child's fault for falling over.
Absolutely,
basically, is what we're saying. See, I have a big problem with robots because ever since Metal Mickey in the 1980s, I've been traumatised by robots. So the whole concept of robots doing things and thinking for themselves really scares me.
Metal Mickey scared you?
Metal Mickey terrified me. Metal Mickey and the Daleks, I should say.
Exterminate.
Yeah.
At least you could always run up the stairs with the Daleks until recent times.
Yeah, when they could fly.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bugger, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. So for me, robots, big scary area for me.
Okay, so the Nightscope, which is the robot, is 5 foot, so not a tall man.
No.
Or lady, if the droid is gendered.
That's an interesting question, though. Do robots have gender?
Well,
I guess it depends on what the robot's primary program is.
Oh no, we're getting into stereotyping now. So you're going to say, I think what you're going to say is, if the robot is sitting down watching football, or
that's not much of a robot, is it?
No, but maybe it's analysing football scores.
Don't know.
Saying that, then it must be a male robot, and if it's doing the washing up, therefore it must be a Mrs. Robot.
No, not at all. I am saying, is it a pleasure bot?
Yeah,
or is it
that's where I thought you were.
Or is it a...
See, that is where I am naive and...
Is it a soldier bot?
I don't think the ladies have... I've never heard a lady talk about the want for a pleasure bot.
Now, is there a butler...
You haven't been speaking to the right ladies.
Is there a butler bot? Because if there's a butler bot, does that mean...
I think there is...
Can a butler be a woman?
I don't believe that they can. I think that a butler is a gendered title.
That's interesting. What about the Hoover bot? Because you can get Hoover bots that go round and round in circles hoovering Really?
I wouldn't consider them to be gendered. I'd just consider them to be a machine.
Okay.
But can they ever achieve consciousness?
Well, no.
But they could say, I think, therefore I am, and that means that's it.
Yeah, I don't think René Descartes had really envisioned the future when he's thought about life and sentience and stuff. I think he's stood the test of time for a good 300 years or so, but yeah, after that, I prefer the philosopher's drinking song from Monty Python. René Descartes, I drink, therefore I am.
It's a motto I live by every day.
I'm not familiar with the works of Descartes, other than I think, therefore I am.
He is I believe he was a Christian. He was a theist as well as a philosopher. I may be wrong because it wasn't one of the philosophers that I really studied. So,
So
this has
week,
taken a swing, hasn't it?
So this week we've got brand new Prime Minister, new cabinet, a robot running over a child's foot, and it was a child's foot obviously because the child fell over.
Yep, naturally.
Yeah.
Children do all sorts of things that are wrong, don't they?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I might have missed this. You've already said it. But who is being sued? Is it Google who have made this, or is it somebody else who's made this?
It's somebody else. It's not Google that are being sued, although they're being sued for some other reason, an antitrust suing. So presumably they're trying to bully other companies in some manner. Who makes the machine? It is a company called Nightscope, I think.
Nightscope.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like another 1980s throwback, Knight Rider.
Oh,
Knight
yeah.
Rider with
Knight
Kit.
Rider with Kit. Yeah.
And Kit's nemesis, Car.
Yeah, car.
I like the Hoff.
And let me just join the dots between cars and children here when we talk about funny things that kids say. So I was driving my son back from cadets, and he said to me as I was driving along, "Does it hurt?" And I said, "Does what hurt?" And he said, "Falling in love." So I thought, well, where do we go with this one? This is a long conversation. I said, well, sometimes it can. He said, no, I mean, when you get shot.
What?
So I said, what do you mean when you get shot? He said, well, when the big fat baby in the nappy shoots you and you fall in love, does that hurt? At which point I realised he was talking about Cupid. So there's a motto in that. So if anybody knows whether it does hurt when you get shot by the big fat baby in the nappy and you fall in love, then just let us know.
Yeah. In terms of news, I have finally managed to get hold of a version of PokemonGo for my phone, and I caught my first Pokemon
At work
today. I caught Bulbasaur, and I feel really, really proud. He was nestled on top of a colleague's desk. So if you don't know Pokemon, which most people
I know
probably
Pokemon.
do.
I remember.
You've
I've
got to
watched
catch 'em all.
the cartoons. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where did the theme tune go?
Pokemon, oh, you're my best friend in a world we must defend.
Pikachu.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pikachu.
yeah.
that's right.
Pikachu. I used to like Pikachu. Pikachu was cute. And Team Rocket then. Team Rocket
Yes,
Pokemon. Yeah.
You and your Pokemon
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah.
You
And-
remember things about Pokemon that I don't remember, and I was a child at the time.
What are you trying to say?
So was Nicki actually, for the sake of the podcast.
Yeah, because
Yes.
you can't sit.
Yeah.
But clearly I wasn't a child at the time. But my children were children at the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they play Pokemon.
And therefore I was subjected to all the TV programmes that they were subjected to, including Pokemon and
You mean you enjoyed all the children's
Postman Pat.
programs
I
that they wanted to watch?
particularly liked
Oh, yeah.
Postman Pat.
Yeah. In where was it based? Ponty.
No, that you're
That's
thinking of
Fireman
Fireman Sam and Norman. Naughty Norman was
So-
on Fireman Sam.
I'm just going to remember.
Did they
ballads.
watch Bertha as well? Was Bertha?
Bertha.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I don't know.
So Bertha is a printing manufacturing machine.
Oh yes,
It's a
I do
cartoon.
remember Bertha.
Yeah, lovely
Big
Bertha.
lovely
Bertha.
Bertha. Oh, and now I can't remember the song. So I can remember Postman Pat. Postman Pat I found vaguely.
Can you remember the
Worrying.
Fireman Sam song?
When he hears the fire bell chime, Fireman Sam is there on time, pulling on his coat and hat. In less than 7 seconds flat. I think that's a record.
He's always on call.
Well,
Fireman Sam.
Simon Cowell did exploit Bob the Builder, didn't he? And got Bob the Builder to number 1.
Yeah. Bob the Builder. Can we fix it, Bob the Builder?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Gender stereotyping in that, wasn't there?
You see, yeah, this a little bit Postman Pat, Bob the Builder,
Fireman Sam.
Fireman Sam.
I mean, this will go way over Dale's head and probably a lot of people outside of the UK, but Nicki and I were doing a bit of reminiscing and we both remember the Flumps.
The Flumps.
I'm aware of the Flumps.
Are you aware of the Flumps? Are you aware of Button Moon?
Button Moon, yeah.
Well, not exactly.
Do you know what? When there's one thing I remember and nobody else remembers is Humphrey Cushion. Humphrey Cushion used to live in Hector's house, and Humphrey Cushion, if you ever look at Humphrey Cushion's nose, how some of this stuff got through onto television is beyond me, but if you can Google Humphrey Cushion and look at his nose.
It's the most inappropriate children's programme ever made. There was an episode where they were talking to the screen and encouraging children to play with their twanger.
So 80s children's television, great. But one thing that has always bothered me, which doesn't bother me, but in the 1970s, at school, in break time, you had a tuck shop, so you could go and you could buy
penny sweets.
And then the dentist used to come into school every now and again and look at your teeth
and say you shouldn't be buying penny sweets.
But so I reckon we ate quite a lot of sugar way back.
But it's all relative though, wasn't it? Because the volume of penny sweets you used to be able to get was never that much.
And we used to do a lot more walk, so we used to walk to school.
Yeah, same here.
And walk back to school.
I did for primary school, I couldn't high school, it was too far.
Yeah, I did the same for primary school. Couldn't for high school, it was 8 miles.
Yeah, it's 10 for me.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. Well, you could. You just have to get up really early. You'd be super
Nicki's
fit.
from a town in Yorkshire though, so she's hardy.
We used to dig ourselves out of the snow and walk to school. My Yorkshire granny was ace, but really embarrassing. And I once went out with this guy who was really popular, and he used to wear Farrah trousers and Kappa jumpers and all that kind of girl.
Oh,
and he had
bleached
blonde hair, so he used to put the sun in his hair. And I thought he was lovely, and my granny thought he was terrible. And in woodwork, he cut his thumb, and we went to my granny's for lunch, and he was sitting there, like, oh, my thumb. And she said, sit there, let me take a look at that. So she looked at his thumb, and she said, that knows what that wants to do with that. And he said, no. She said, that wants to pee on it.
What?
Yeah, so it's actually scientifically proven that urine contains so uric acid is actually really good for healing cuts, and they do actually synthesise it and use it in cream. But in Yorkshire they knew this, so urine was good for all sorts of things. They used to use it for setting dyes in clothing, and then
they did that with Harris Tweed, didn't they? Originally, they used to soak it in piss.
And I don't know why we sort of let all this stuff go to waste.
Bear Grylls just drinks it, doesn't he? So
I draw the line at drinking it. I'm not sure I could drink it, but
nice bit of plain background noise for everybody.
Yeah. Where he's off to.
It's the local MP. He's been called into Parliament now for his promotion.
God, I hope not. Bloke.
So what is annoying me about all this political comment at the moment is the fact that they keep talking about, oh my goodness, well, all these women are being appointed to the cabinet.
I know,
oh my
imagine.
goodness, we've got a female Prime Minister. So my problem with the media is that the more they make this into a big deal and make it look as if it's some unachievable thing that's suddenly been achieved, it's a barrier in itself. And if they just normalised it and just said, your friend Liam Fox is being appointed to the cabinet, and then Amber Rudd has been appointed to the cabinet without going, oh my goodness, she's appointing lots of women. You make it into this big thing. Which,
in fairness, there's lots of competent men and women, and there's lots of incompetent men and women as well.
Absolutely.
But
by making really big deal of all these things.
On the BBC this morning, Harriet told me that she heard the journalist say the reason why Theresa May did not stay in Downing Street last night is because she didn't have a nightie. And you just think, really?
Yeah.
My head's going, who the hell was she briefing with that information?
And who cares?
Who cares? I couldn't care less.
Except the Daily Mail would care about that.
Yeah,
the
but
Daily Mail
they'd
would
want
care.
a picture of her
They
in
would
her
want a
nightie,
picture of her in her nightie.
or so with the Sun, or maybe not. The readers of the Sun
without
might
her
not.
nightie, yeah.
That's not an image that I particularly want. I'm quite terrified now.
Yeah, so they would be more interested in what these women were wearing, what shoes they were wearing, than what their policies looked like.
That translates into films as well, because I don't know if you remember seeing Jurassic World last year.
Then the woman spent the whole time running through Jurassic World in a pair of stilettos.
Yeah.
You would have taken those off. You would have taken your stilettos off. At no point would
The most important thing, though, not only was she running stilettos, she outran a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
That's some going, that is.
In her high heels, which is pretty epic. You've got to say fair play to her.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bit of an amazing... I mean, they did joke about it, saying, why are you going around in those shoes? And then to which point she just carried on.
Yeah.
But you would have thought a comfortable pair of trainers would have made it a lot easier.
I bet she had terrible blisters at the end of that. I just want to say that is a green woodpecker in the background.
I'm surprised you could hear the green woodpecker.
The green woodpecker and a plane.
Yeah. What kind of plane is it?
We are
It's a Cessna.
Yeah, we're definitely over the Cessna flight path. This isn't Heathrow. This is
Multiple airfields.
leafy Warwickshire.
James, why are you wearing a smiley face sticker on your tie?
Because that's just me.
Okay.
No, Ryan put it on my tie, and I've just never taken it off.
So, what's next on the agenda? Podcast host number 1.
So, podcast host number 1, yeah. We've asked Dan and I have all our contributions, but as Nicki is brand new to the show, one of the questions we've asked in the past is, what's your favourite book?
My favourite book. Okay, so my favourite book is in fact, I've got loads of favourite books, and this is really hard. This is like Desert Island Discs. I'm trying to work out which ones you would really, really like. So
I went straight in with a click for mine.
Did you? What did you go in for?
I went in for a bit of George Orwell in 1984.
No, you see, 1984. So Gabriele D'Annunzio, The Child of Pleasure, I think, one of my all-time favourite books. Really, really like that.
So what's that about?
So this is about a count who has this reputation for just falling in love with, madly in love with women, and he becomes very obsessed with this one woman, and it's all about this story about...
Is it Mills and Boon?
No, it's not. Mills and Boon. It's a classic. It's
when you say classic,
good.
When did it come out?
Oh, it's 1800s translated.
James
sure.
also had a guess at what mine was going to be, and it was a book that I had read recently. I said, "You'll guess what mine is," my bleeding heart liberal credentials, and James went, "Is it The Ragged Trousered Philanthropy?" which is a good book. Not tremendously written, but very, very kind of thought-provoking.
Yeah, I had that book. Never read it.
So you've got your
live.
count who falls madly in love with women.
Yeah.
Before we got sidetracked on Mills and Boon.
Yeah. So that's a really good book. And then Jude the Obscure, Thomas Hardy. You love that book.
I've never read it.
That's great.
Seen the film.
Yeah.
Kate Winslet and Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah, it's great. I really like that.
Very depressing.
Jude, no, well, the bit that
It's Hardy.
still.
They're all Hardy is
they've all
depressing.
got that. Let's think of something jolly. Let's think of a jolly book. Actually, one of my favourite books is the Alice B. Toklas cookbook.
Oh yes, yeah. You were telling
this
me
is
about
great.
this
This is not fiction and not non-fiction, so I call it faction, maybe. So Alice B. Toklas was the girlfriend of Gertrude Stein, the artist, and they lived in France, and they had lots and lots of
metropolitan Paris elite.
They were, and they had lots of artists and writers to dinner, and Alice used to cook for them, so she made this cookbook of all the recipes and the dishes that she created for these different artists, and then it's got a lot of lovely sort of prose about what they did and their life together. Fantastic, it's really good.
I like To Kill a Mockingbird as well. I only read that recently as well, so I did a thing where all of the books that I missed at school but other people read, I decided to read, and it turns out that my English teacher must have not liked us very much because he chose the books that were inferior.
And when I was at school, there was stuff like we did Macbeth, and then at college I did Hamlet, but I also got to do The Old Man and the Sea, which was pretty interesting, by Hemingway. But then when I did my A-levels, I had to do Jane Eyre. Now, as a 17-year-old boy reading Jane Eyre didn't really work for me.
No, and that's the problem, isn't it, with the literature that they use for children in schools is very dry, but also today's books, the language is really dumbed down. So when I look at the books that I used to read, so there's a great book called Grinny by Nicholas Fisk, which is on the top 100 books that your children should read, and it's a brilliant book about great Aunt Emma who comes to stay, and the parents of these two children just take her in because basically she's an alien from outer space, and she's brainwashed them, and she's dressed up like an old lady, but she's not actually an old lady, so underneath it she's an alien.
Someone's told me about this before. It was possibly you.
This is brilliant, and the children have got this nailed, so they know that this is not great Aunt Emma, this is an alien, and they have to save the day and dispatch her. But the language in there is quite complex, and the vocabulary is quite complex. So when I read it to my then 12-year-old, we would stop and he would say, well, what does that word mean? What does that word mean? And actually, the language that they use, so my worry is that actually the English language is, people's vocabulary is shrinking, and we don't use enough of our really great words. So what's your favourite word? What's your favourite word of all time? If you could say a word over and over and over and over again, what would you say?
That's a very good question, actually. What would I say?
I like obfuscate and what else do I like?
For its sheer pretentiousness, I like anti-disestablishmentarianism.
I like reify as well, which is a word I didn't know until I went to university. So it's like reify is to make a concept real to some degree. It's quite a nice word. And once I'd learnt the word, I shoved it into every essay I could.
And that's really important, isn't it? Because if you've got a word that you like, or a word that you've just learned, you have to keep using it so you remember it and you use it again.
I have to say that like for all of the dumbing down, like the most popular children's book series of my lifetime is obviously Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And J.K. Rowling, she wasn't like a simple from a language perspective. She used more complex vocabulary than a lot of books that I've read before and since for children and adults. So I think
what was smart about Rowling though is that she changed the books to suit the audience, because she knew her audience was getting older.
Growing up, yeah.
So it matched the style, which is quite clever.
She also made it words as well that then have now made it into the dictionary, like muggles.
Yeah, that was a classic.
One of my favourite words is crepuscular. I love that word, crepuscular.
Which means to...
So that's when it's nearing twilight. It's that kind of light you get when it's almost gone but not quite gone. Sort of like a grave, and it's sort of to do with graves and that sort of almost like a gothic word. So when you see the sky,
so you can imagine it appearing
really dark and heavy, and pendulous is another word. So if you've got big, dark, pendulous clouds,
big pendulous moon, that type of thing, yeah,
in a crepuscular sky.
Do you think that...
I feel like I'm reading Bram Stoker right now.
Yeah.
I do feel like as a result of shrinking vocabulary. When people write, they use more words than they need to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I find myself doing this on first draft, so I'll refer to something as very something, and it's a terrible thing to do really, because there tends to be a word that means very very sad, like miserable, or like you can basically always find a word that means the extreme of something, and they're great words. They tend to be quite
Serendipity, that's one of my favourite words. I
Serendipity.
like that word.
It's a good
I like
word.
positive words.
I like propensity as well. That's a
Yeah, that's a good.
I like
that's a good
word. Words that
Dickering
like
is one of my
roll.
favourites.
Profligacy.
Ah, yes.
That's a
profligate.
good word.
Screed.
Screed.
So you have a screed of text. It goes on longer than it needs to.
I'm thinking flooring.
Yeah, I know. I could tell as soon as you thought that. Oh yeah, the floor does need levelling somewhere in the house.
Oh,
So, what about stuff we've been watching? Anybody watching anything recently on TV or at the cinema or anything along those lines?
So I joined in with Lisa Marie and started watching Brief Encounters, the TV drama about Ann Summers sales reps and women starting to do that in the 80s, I assume. Everyone seemed to be dressed in that sort of way.
Power dressing, big shoulder pads.
No, they were normal lasses as opposed to
Okay. So
you know,
badly fitting stonewashed jeans and
baggy t-shirts.
Big hair.
yeah,
big hair.
big jumpers,
Yeah,
perms.
Not enough big hair. So I thought it was a bit naff, to be honest. But it was amusing in at times, and could be worth a watch if you're in the UK. It's on the ITV hub. I'll probably give the next episode a watch to see if my initial opinion was correct. Otherwise, I have watched some House and Breaking Bad, which I can't really tell the audience anything new about because they're the same as they always were,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
So I'm more of a radio listener than a TV watcher.
That's what you've been
Mainly
listening to.
because I don't get a lot of time. The one thing I have watched recently, which I thought I would absolutely hate, was, so my son said, come and watch Deadpool with me. So I actually watched Deadpool, but the burning question at the end of Deadpool was, how does he go to the toilet? Let's assume he's in the middle of this massive mission to save someone and he desperately needs to go to the toilet. How does he get out of that suit?
I reckon
does
he
that
just
work?
goes in it.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I think
Because he asked that question in Iron Man 2,
Do they?
and he says just like this, and he wheezes himself in the suit, and then tells he's got a filtration system. But of course, Iron Man has a fully set of
Yeah.
he is a
advanced
billionaire,
armour.
in fairness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm not so sure about the whole Deadpool.
I think he's probably gone
The
before
word-
he needs to go.
Yeah,
if
the
that
end
makes
of
sense.
his name, Paul, could come to mean all sorts of things.
Well, here's a bit of facts, a bit of knowledge you can drop on your son later so you can sound really impressive. So Deadpool is a copy of a character called Deathstroke from DC, and is a literal spoof of him. Because
Okay.
there's Wade Wilson, who is Deadpool, and then there's Slade Wilson, who is Deathstroke. So you can drop that knowledge bomb saying, did you know the origins of it, that he's a complete clone?
I'm so going to be down with the kids later.
Boom! Knowledge bomb.
And in
Yeah.
terms of your Radio 4 listening, I was listening to a Radio 4 comedy the other night called I've Never Seen Star Wars. It's pretty good. They invite a celebrity on there. It's presented by
Is it Marcus Brigstock?
British comedian Marcus Brigstock. They invite someone on and they get them to do things that they've never done before. So they had Rebecca Front, who was off of The Thick of It,
And early Alan Partridge.
and early Alan Partridge. Who did she play in that?
Comedy
She played
gold.
lots and lots of different female characters, from a sort of page 3 stunner all the way through to the programme that was going to take over, which was going to be about lesbians.
Aha.
So it was just
Can
that.
you do the accent of the girlfriend that Alan Partridge has? And I can't remember what series. So she's the
yes.
Polish lady.
Yes, it talks about, hey Alan,
Yeah.
Alan, I want to go do this, Alan. Alan, we go this. Well, of course, it's a bit more than Borat. My name Borat. Yeah, sexy times, yeah, it's never born heaven.
So
I need
they-
to be careful because you can offend a lot of people who work here.
So
If they can understand what you're saying.
we
Yes.
had, Rebecca Front was on it. Nicola Murray from The Thick of It. They had her unfortunately for her, they had her going and playing cricket for the first time, which she said she did for about 20 minutes. She probably might do it again, 5 out of 10. They made her watch Mrs. Brown's Boys, which I wouldn't really wish on anyone.
No.
Mrs.
Awful.
Brown's Boys is like the lowest form of comedy in my opinion. Sorry if you like it. As always, you can fire abuse at me on Twitter at DaleMC_. Yeah, it's a terrible programme. Absolutely puerile humour. Massively
The main storylines are terrible, but the idea behind it that made Mrs. Brown very popular was the fourth wall breaking. So they'd start laughing on set, and then the camera would show there's a TV studio, not deliberately, just by accident. It's those gaffes, so like the camera would come through the window, and they drop those into the show as well, and that's the bit that made it popular.
Yeah.
But
so
the general storyline
It's
of
so
them,
much more fun. It's so much. That's not a proper sentence. It's so much more funny. It's
No.
much funnier, is what I meant to say.
Yes.
When things go wrong.
Yeah.
it's a
can be.
terrible programme which really isn't made for this day and age. It seems to have been made for 70s humour. It's very, very backwards.
But it's interesting what makes people laugh.
Yeah. Although
Because there's an art to.
I can't say that
really
I've never
making
laughed
people
watching any of it,
But
but
there's
I don't find it funny.
So what?
Yeah.
So my question is all the swearing and profanity in today's comedy really necessary? Because my favourite comedies. So I used to love Victoria Wood. Used to love Fawlty Towers.
Yeah, a bit of John Cleese.
Yeah, used to love that. And there was no swearing in that. It was all. It was a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff. So you get children watching a little bit like pantomime, and the puns
Bit of
would
like
go
racism.
over the. Well, okay, yeah, all right. I take your point on that. But maybe where we've become politically correct in some respects, they just seem to fire off.
But if you think, if you look at the top level of British comedy programmes, so you have to go a long way to excel beyond Blackadder's series 2, 3 and 4, don't you?
Hilarious.
So you do have bad language in those, but you also have extremely clever wordplay, lots and lots of sarcasm.
And really good characters as well.
Yeah, but then you've got Phoenix Nights, which for me is one of my favourite shows. I love it. It's continuously funny, and there's loads of swearing in that.
Well, I'd say like there's a difference between swearing for a reason and just kind of throwing it in because you can't think of anything else to say. And Mrs. Brown's Boys does a lot of throwing it in because you can't think of anything else to say.
And it's sort of a barrage, isn't it? Of
feck, arse.
Yeah, but feck doesn't mean the same as what you're thinking. Feck means something slightly different.
Yeah, does it?
Yeah, they say, it's not a swear word.
Well, yeah. Be as that may, it is kind of, for the audience it's aimed at, it will be taken as a swear word. So, yeah. But then, like, Rebecca Front said that she didn't like all the needless swearing in it, and she was in the thick of it, which has a huge amount of swearing in it. But I think it's swearing well delivered in a way.
It's done knowingly and exaggerated, isn't it? It's not thrown in, like you say, for shock value. This is done for pure. It's like, so if anybody across the pond is listening to us, if you watch Veep on HBO,
it's the
think
same
of it
program,
as the British version of it. But I would love to have seen Malcolm Tucker, who is the communications director for the Prime Minister, go up against Selina Meyer, because I think that would have been absolutely hilarious, because Malcolm Tucker doesn't hold back against anybody, including the film In the Loop where he completely trashes James Gandolfini as an American general, which you think you don't really mess with Tony Soprano unless you're Malcolm Tucker, because he just doesn't care who you are. The only person he seems to be timid around is a Prime Minister who you never actually get to see.
So it's like, what was the... she said that the experience of watching it, she gave it 5 out of 10, and Marcus Brigstock tried to push her on what she'd actually give the programme itself, and she wouldn't go there. I think she said, I've just received my tax bill, and I wouldn't mind marrying into Brendan, whatever his name is, his family, off of Mrs. Brown's Boys, presumably only for money, because not her kind of comedy by stretch. not the Radio 4 audience kind of comedy, if
No.
we're honest. So there you are, a bit of radio commentary rather than TV, James.
Indeed, something different. I mean, I've watched Highlander on Monday, and there's an episode of the podcast that should go up hopefully later today about that. And it's its 30th anniversary. Have you ever seen Highlander before?
Yep.
Christophe Lambert.
Yeah. It's good.
And Sean
Actual
Connery
fact.
so you've got a Swiss Frenchman playing a Scotsman, and you've got a Scotsman playing an Egyptian Spaniard, which is just hilarious.
Mind-blowing.
Absolutely hilarious, but very good soundtrack. Queen's second best soundtrack in my opinion. Of course, you can't beat Flash Gordon, Flash IR, Saviour of the Universe. Exactly.
Saviour of the Universe.
God rest his soul. You have to go a long way to beat a voice like Freddie Mercury. And then I've been still watching Star Trek, the original series. The HD versions are on Netflix at the moment. It's still camp. When it's good, it's very good, and when it's bad, it's William Shatner. It's just very, very bizarre, some of the episodes. Like the most recent one I've watched, it involves the Enterprise being held by a giant hand, which is from the god Apollo. So they're basically saying the gods of ancient Olympus did exist, they did come to see us, and then they fled when we stopped loving them. And this whole episode,
they're in space.
Yeah, now they're back on a planet, and they defeat Apollo, and Apollo returns to the gods in some kind of form. But also, another episode that I watched recently involves a probe that mankind sent into space, and it was damaged, and because of the damage it received, it met with an alien intelligence who upgraded it and made it very, very dangerous. So yeah, it brings up back to the AI robot cleaner. What could happen if
and
the
it
robot
makes
cleaner...
me feel that those episodes of Lost in Space, you know, you look at those now, it's come a long way.
Well,
there was another robot in that.
Yeah, Robbie.
Yeah.
Well, what I remember about Lost in Space, the original TV series, when it was repeated on Channel 4 along with Land of the Giants.
Not the original one.
No, I wasn't around when it first aired, and neither were you, Nikki. But I remember doing one particular episode where the spaceship lands and somebody on an alien planet, another human being from Earth, who's also lost in space, says their spaceship's late 1990s, which you kind of think, wow, there really were positive forward-thinking people in the 1950s who thought that would be the case. But yeah, I've not seen that. But Netflix apparently are going to do a brand new series of that.
I've got the box set.
Of Lost in Space.
Box set of Lost in Space. Yeah.
That's a proper commitment. How many episodes did they do? Do you remember?
I can't remember how many. Actually, more than I can remember, because there are episodes on there when I watch it that I don't remember having seen before.
Well, Dr. Smith was great.
Dr. Smith was great, wasn't he?
Villain.
A great baddie.
Yeah.
He was a great baddie.
Because he was kind of good, but most of the time he wanted to cause trouble.
Yeah.
But it reinforced 50s America big time, didn't it?
Yeah.
But Twilight
Lost in
Zone.
Space. And what was the other program that was on about the same time? So when they reran those, and there was another about people who were so they'd been shrunk.
Land of the Giants.
Land of the Giants. So they hadn't been shrunk. They'd just gone to a land.
They've gone into space. They crash landed.
Land of the Giants. That was
Land
good.
of the Giants.
That was Sunday. That was Sunday television viewing.
Yeah. A time tunnel.
And Doctor Who was Saturday always. Yeah. Doctor Who was Saturday, and then after he got back from school.
So terrible at sci-fi chat.
Well, not necessarily.
I'm not a sci-fi watcher, really.
Well, you like 1984 is one of your favourite books.
Indeed.
I know you're enjoying it more for the socio-political elements and the fact that it's a destruction of libertarianism and democracy.
Yeah.
But the rest of us just look at it thinking it's an epic piece of sci-fi where there's people watching you in every way, shape and form. So it works on a number of levels. The movie's not very good though.
I've not seen any of those.
Brazil is a slightly better version of 1984 in terms of a movie, though it is epically weird at the same time. But of course, from the mind of Terry Gilliam, what else do you expect? Yeah. The new Ghostbusters is out this week as well.
Oh, see, I've heard about this.
So it was the most hated video on YouTube ever, which is quite bizarre, really. And the critical reviews have come out, and the critics have sort of said, actually, it's pretty good, it's funny, okay, the plot's pretty much exactly the same as the original, but all the female leads are pretty good. There might be some characters you don't like, but that would be the same when you looked at the original. And I've noticed on stuff like 9gag and Imager, there's been quite a few posts of still loads of people hating on it. And you just think, Ghostbusters was a good film.
Yeah. But should you ever meddle with something like that?
But I just kind of think, so what?
Yeah.
So what? It's like Highlander. Highlander is ripe for a remake, because watching it again, as I did, and seeing it on Blu-ray, it's got a lot of gaps in it. Some of the effects are really ropey, and it is a cult film, and the Kurgan is an awesome character, but I wouldn't necessarily think that it's like when you do books if you adapt a book for a film. There's been multiple versions of books, and there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean that one version's perfect and the other one's wrong. You find one that you like and you stick with it. It's like the Count of Monte Cristo. There's been at least 3 or 4 attempts at that. I quite like the Jim Caviezel one, which was from a few years ago with Guy Pearce as the main villain. But then I also like the old one with Robert Donat, who also was Goodbye Mr. Chips.
It's funny. It's funny, isn't it? I was just trying to think of a film
He's
that's
waving.
been.
Yes, we're not talking about catchphrase.
No. I'm trying
Say
to
what you
think
see.
of a remake of a film which is much better than the original. So for me, the Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man.
Oh yeah, you want to
Loved
check.
that. When they remade that. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Johnny Depp. I suppose if you hadn't seen the original, that for me was.
I think it's Gene Wilder though that makes Charlie and the Chocolate.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Willy Wonka as they called it. Then they changed the name, didn't they?
Yeah.
But I think there are some films that the remakes are better. So The Thing, which I lent to Dale. I don't know if he's had a chance to watch yet. Which is a remake of The Thing from Another World, is far superior. Far superior. There's quite a lot of films. It's like, I'm just trying to think of some other ones that have been done recently that you just think, actually that is a big improvement on what came before. What I would like to see though is if a film's like RoboCop, the recent remake of RoboCop. Now, the first film is a classic. The sequels drop in quality quite deeply, but the remake just felt completely unnecessary, and it definitely felt like a bit of a cash grab because it was reduced down to a 12A, and just kind of think, well, that kind of loses the point, because the point is it's the destruction of human form and becoming something else, and of course then you get the Jesus allegory linked to it and all that type of stuff. But I do think there should, if an idea is good but it's not executed correctly, I don't see a problem with people having another go and doing it in a different way.
I think you can do it in a very different way. So if you look at the Rocky films, you've got Rocky Balboa.
Balboa. Rocky Balboa.
So if you look at the Rocky films, you've got Rocky Balboa. And then, have you seen Creed?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So that's amazing. So then you've got Rocky in a film, a standalone film, about boxing, about a young guy who's, toughing it out and wanting to get... I loved that film.
I did a blog on my website, and on my website I put my top 5 films that I've seen this year, and Creed was in that
That was
top 5
amazing.
list.
I was in there fighting his corner with him. I thought that was great.
I think what really helps is Sylvester Stallone is great support, and he deserved a lot of the plaudits, but Michael B. Jordan, who played the son of Apollo Creed, he's such a charisma machine.
It was amazing.
He makes acting look effortless, and you want to get behind him every time you see him on screen.
Yeah, it was great.
I really enjoyed that. But going back to our book conversation as well, one of my favourite films of this year was a book of adaptation of a Jane Austen short story novella called Lady Susan, and the film's called Love and Friendship.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Once you get your head around the language, which is what we were talking about earlier, and you familiarise yourself with how that works, Kate Beckinsale's performance as Lady Susan is so good. I mean, this woman cuts everybody down to size and to ribbons with her comments, the delivery, everything is pitch perfect. I highly recommend watching it. Definitely one of my favourite films of the year. What else did I put in that list? So I think that was my third favourite film of the year. Deadpool was at 2 and Captain America Civil War was at number 1, but that's because I'm a Marvel nut job.
I did like Deadpool much more than I expected to.
Yeah,
much
Deadpool
more than I
was my
expected
favourite
to like
comic
it.
film. It's like a comedy more than a
I think
comic film.
there is, if I was to do a list of my favourite comic films, it probably would be there, but I would, particularly as
like
the style it is,
Spider-Man's as well.
Kick-Ass would sit above Deadpool in terms of being
Is
more
that
subversive.
purely because you heard a 12-year-old child say the C word?
No, it's because it's more subversive, and I think Matthew Vaughn is a better director.
I haven't seen Kick-Ass in years, so I can't really...
Kick-Ass is phenomenally good. But
So a really good film that I watched recently is Adult Life Skills with Jodie Whittaker.
Well, I don't have any of those.
She's a great actress, is Jodie
It's
Whittaker.
fantastic. So it's a British comedy, absolutely brilliant,
Maybe I'll
really
have to
good.
try
So
and
this is
watch
about
that.
a 30-year-old woman wose twin brother died, and she's kind of given up on life, and she's living in a shed at the bottom of her mother's garden. So the mother and the grandmother live together in a bungalow. She lives in a shed at the bottom of the garden.
Do they know that?
No, so they know she's there, and they're trying to get her out of the shed, and it's just really funny, but it's really clever, and it's really,
I'll have to check that one out.
really worth watching.
I do like her as an actress. I watched
Yeah.
Attack the Block the other day.
It's quite. It's got a nice. It's not polished. It's not a highly polished. It's very sort of fly on the wall. You feel like you're
Quite
almost-
natural
it's
sort of
a very
film
natural
style, yeah.
film, and it's really funny, and it's got a charm to it. And you actually start, and when you start to watch it, I think for the first maybe 20 minutes you're actually not sure. You're
Yeah.
weighing it up, and then it draws you in, and before you know it, you're watching all of it, and you're really engaged with it, and it's really good.
Right, I'm conscious of time. We will have to get back to our day jobs.
Yeah.
So, just a quick mention that the Highlander special will be available, like I say, either later today or tomorrow, and then also another mini game special will be available, and then all being well, this particular episode, which if you're listening to it right now, is already available. But then everything will be available on YouTube eventually, as well as via Podbean and the iTunes store. So if you want to shout out Dale and give him some abuse about his very, very democratic, liberal political views and or lack of sci-fi knowledge, you can contact him at...
Hey, my democratic views are moving towards anti-democratic views as a result of what democracy's given us.
So Dale is going to become V.
Yeah. At Dale MC is where you can abuse me. I do still
forget the
believe
underscore.
Underscore. Don't forget the underscore at the end. I do still believe in democracy, just about.
Clarity. And I
Nicki.
don't even have a Twitter handle.
You don't have a Twitter
No,
handle?
because that's one thing we need to do.
Yes.
So you
I
can,
did have a Twitter handle. Long story. I don't have one anymore.
So we're going to set one up. Nicki the Nerd, I think, is appropriate.
Nicki the Nerd.
Nicki the Nerd.
Okay, yeah.
Nicki knows things. Nicki knows
Nicki
things.
knows things.
What
Nicki
Yeah.
does know
Nicki
things.
Wits?
Nicki Wits.
Yeah. I like Nicki knows things. And then I can...
Witty Nicki.
Witty Nicki. Shall I end it with a
Underscore.
witty Nicki ditty?
Witty Nicki. Yeah, I think that's probably appropriate.
Okay, so
We'll get
my
back to you on
question...
that.
So my big question then is, at what age is it appropriate to buy a man a nose and ear hair trimmer? Because I made up this verse.
She's looking at me
I'm
at
not.
the moment.
I
I'm
can't see
there
any.
like...
But I made
Yeah.
up this. So I made up this verse for men who turn 40, and I'm not sure that actually that's the right age. So the verse goes like this: now you are 40, you may start to worry that the hair you have left will depart in a hurry. You may even be tempted to go to extremes and hang upside down while you rub in strange creams. At 40, your hairline might start to recede, but elsewhere you'll grow far more hair than you need. So don't be alarmed if your hair disappears. It'll grow down your nostrils and out of each ear.
25. That's the age I'd say. Is acceptable.
Yeah. So I think we should ponder this question.
I think that's right. We can ponder that on the Facebook page, and we can put that on our Facebook page
Yeah.
and see what people say.
Okay. It's
Cool.
alright, Dale, I can't see any. It's fine.
So,
You know
You can catch me at The First Bat. Thank you for listening, and we'll speak to you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll be right back.